Countdown in uh, three, two, and one. What's going on, y'all? It is another episode of AVIOT Sunday Brew. We are recording this on a Tuesday. I wasn't able to do the show on Sunday because my wife's friend, her boyfriend got us tickets to a Baltimore Ravens game, so we went to that. And then I had to come back and do some projects at home Sunday and Monday. I actually had to build some things in the house. My wife got some cupboards or drawers or whatever, and I had to build those. So that took me a good amount of time. So now I'm able to do the show. I wanted to do it on Sunday, but this week we're doing it on Tuesday. And then next week we'll resume with doing the show on Sunday. So just a little bit of backstory. What I will say though, that Ravens game was at first fishy. Now, I haven't been following football much this year, just been looking at some highlights online, whether it be threads or maybe something I might come across on YouTube and I'll check out a play or two. But the game seemed really fishy. Lamar Jackson, I know he's coming off an injury, but some of the plays that they were running, some of the football catches that weren't being caught, that were actually being dropped, it really was bothering me. And it seemed almost intentional at a point in time. I was like, how are y'all dropping these passes? How are these plays not working out? They were playing the Jets. And I'm sitting over here like, "Whoops, excuse me, trying to make sure my computer doesn't turn off because I actually got some things that I want to. I'll just keep this playing in the background that way. It'll stay on. There's some points I want to reference on the computer for this show right here. But how are you losing to the Jets? Now, I don't watch football like that, but I even know the Jets aren't that good of a team. The Baltimore Ravens should be able to beat the Jets. And it made me start thinking about all the sports betting that's been going on. I know that the NBA has been caught up in a lot of allegations regarding sports betting, players throwing games or trying to fix games in order to win extra money or gamble on the side. We had that big situation that happened involving Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier earlier. But I was just concerned because the game wasn't going very well. Now, as it went on, Baltimore caught its stride and they ended up winning the game as they should. And I was like, yo, someone's parlay must have hit or something in order for them to finally do what they had to do and win this game. So it is what it is. Baltimore won that game. It was nice hanging out with, hey, how you doing? My Tyler Pearson, how you doing? Talking about this Baltimore Ravens game that I went to on Sunday, which is why I couldn't do AVIOT Sunday Brew this past Sunday. So the game ended up being good. It was cool hanging out with my wife's friend and her boyfriend, my wife's friends, and one of my wife's friends' boyfriends. It was very nice. Good to get together with community. Now I know that the Thanksgiving holiday is coming up and people are going to be with their families for this holiday season. So I hope that everybody has a good time with their family during this holiday season. Thanksgiving is definitely an interesting holiday because we know the origins of it, the Wampanoag tribe, and we had the Europeans that came over here. They met those tribal groups, and then history is history. Genocide, taking over an entire, taking over lands, and that's where we are today with America. So I definitely want to send my thoughts and to those natives, those tribal groups that feel a type of way when the Thanksgiving holiday comes around. But I tend to look at Thanksgiving as more of just reflecting on the year and being grateful for what you have accomplished and being grateful looking forward towards the future, being grateful for the family members that you have being around, the friends that you have still being around. So that's how I look at Thanksgiving. Now, I was talking about football. Speaking of sports, something that also occurred was there was the WNBA draft lottery in which they were picking the different teams where they would place in terms of the 2026 WNBA draft in terms of picking players. So we had the Dallas Wings got the number one overall draft pick. So this is the second year in which the Dallas Wings get the number one overall draft pick. Last season, they got Paige Beckers. So this season, we're going to see who they get. I'm going to give you my prediction on who they might choose in a minute. Number two were the Minnesota Lynx. And a lot of people are upset with the Chicago Sky because they actually traded away that pick to the Minnesota Lynx. So that should be the Chicago Sky's pick. And then after the Lynx, we have the Seattle Storm, the Washington Mystics, and the Chicago Sky. So those are the five teams that are going to be picking first in this upcoming WNBA draft, unless they do a trade or unless something happens that does away with that whole lineup. what I believe is going to happen is that our fam is going to be picked number one overall in the WNBA draft. A lot of people aren't familiar with Awa Fam. She is a 19-year-old Spanish player, a woman from Spain. And she, if you actually look at her tape, so her name is spelled AWAFAM. If you actually look at the tape of her playing, Awa Fam is nice. Like she's actually a really solid player, and I think that she can definitely be an asset to any team that she's on. She's either going to go number one or number two. I predict that the Dallas Wings are going to choose her. A lot of people want the Dallas Wings to choose AZ Fudd because that is allegedly Paige's partner and they have a history together. They won a championship at UConn. They played several seasons together at UConn. They both went through injury together at UConn. And so people want the reunion of those two. Now, AZ Fudd is a sharpshooter. She's a solid defender, a solid player. In fact, I think the UConn Huskies are going back to back this year. I would love for the South Carolina Gamecocks to win for personal reasons because my family's from South Carolina. Now, I'm personally from Connecticut, so obviously I always root for the Huskies, but they won last year. I would love for South Carolina to come back and win this year. I really like the game of Raven Johnson. I think she's a cool person, and I would love for South Carolina to win, but I think that UConn might be going back to back. It's either going to be UConn, South Carolina, or UCLA. One of those teams are winning this year. I'm telling you, one of those teams. Mark my words. UConn, South Carolina, or UCLA. One of those three teams are winning the women's NCAA basketball championship. So that's that. So I think that AZ Fudd is going to get picked up by the Minnesota Lynx, which is actually going to help them out even more. And I think that Cheryl Reeve is a good at developing players. So I believe that she's definitely going to be a good asset to their team. You're going to have a sharpshooter in her. Hey, how you doing, Joseph Wheeler? How you doing? Insane GR. Yeah, happy early Thanksgiving to you too. I just talked about Thanksgiving not too long ago. Hope you enjoy your holiday with your family. So I think that AZ Fudd's going to be really good with the Minnesota Lynx. My favorite basketball team, NBA or WNBA. So if you have watched the show before, okay, your brother plays for the Lakers. Okay, what's your brother's name? So if you've watched any of the old episodes of AVIOT Sunday Brew or the AVIOT podcast, you'll know my favorite team is the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA. That's my favorite team. I've always loved that squad. I'm a big fan of Allen Iverson's game, and I am definitely a big fan of that. Let me see. You did not. Why are we bringing up Bible verses on this stream right now? I'm talking about sports. Let's keep it to sports. So my favorite NBA team is the Philadelphia 76ers. My favorite WNBA team is the Connecticut Sun. And that's because I am from Connecticut. I hope that the team stays in Connecticut. I am definitely a Connecticut Sun fan through and through. Love that squad. I'm really happy with the pieces that we have. In fact, I think if things go a certain way during this draft, we might actually get Raven Johnson from the South Carolina Gamecocks. I think that Raven Johnson might end up with Connecticut if the Washington Mystics don't pick her up. So I was going through my picks for the draft. I think that Ala Fam is going to be picked number one. AZ Fudd's going to be number two. Number three is going to be Olivia Miles because Seattle has the number three pick, and they already have a 6'6 center in Dominique Malonga, and I don't think they're going to pick Lauren Betts. Lauren Betts has a lot of tweaks that she has a lot of parts of her game that she needs to tweak. And so I think that the Washington Mystics are going to end up getting Lauren Betts. And then the Washington Mystics have a number 9 and number 11 pick. And I think in one of those picks, they're actually going to get Raven Johnson as a point guard because they need a point guard right now, someone to control the pace of the game. And if you watch Raven Johnson play, Raven Johnson is an excellent point, controls the game, traditional. She doesn't really have to score that much, but she can facilitate and she knows how to control the tempo of a game. Let me see. Okay, Katie and Luka Donis. It's Luka Doncic. Doncic. I don't know how to pronounce his name from Slovenia. But anyway, so yeah, so I think that the WNBA draft is definitely going to be big. I think it's going to be awesome. That is if the WNBA happens on time, because with the new CBA agreement, the collective bargaining agreement that they're working out with the players in terms of payment. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I think that with the new collective bargaining agreement with the payment that the players deserve to have, that's going to be something that might cause a lockout for the this upcoming WNBA season. Okay, null and void. Okay, cool. So speaking of the WNBA, I actually want to talk about this story, and that's why I had my screen opened up right here. There was a recent situation that happened where Sophie Cunningham of the Indiana Fever, she was on a podcast and made some remarks that people did not like. So these remarks first started because of Michael Porter Jr. So Michael Porter Jr., he's an NBA player, and he plays for the Denver Nuggets right now. So he was on a podcast in which he said that, and it was the Ball in the Family podcast, in which he said that when he was in middle school, he could beat WNBA players, right? So Sophie Cunningham of the Indiana Fever was asked about Michael Porter Jr.'s thoughts on a podcast called the Show Me Something podcast on whether or not middle schoolers or younger boys could beat WNBA players, professional female athletes. And so she was saying, yeah, they can if they're pro ready, if they're going to the pros, then of course they're going to be able to beat WNBA players. My thing is this: we see this topic brought up a lot in terms of high school boys or middle school boys or men in general being able to beat WNBA players. And I believe that we need to stop just talking about it. We know that men and women are built different. In some cases, women can beat men in the same sport, right? If they're not on the professional level, like, or even if they're on a professional level, like you do have women that can beat men in sports. It's a fact that that can happen. You mean to tell me a lot of guys that play at the YMCA think that they could take a WNBA player? You can't take a WNBA player, dude. No, you can't. You can't. Now, if you're a professional athlete like a LeBron James, Steph Curry, maybe that's a different story. But I don't think the comparison needs to happen. We just need to respect women's basketball players, respect what they're doing. A lot of them are going through a lot. You have WNBA players who are mothers. You have WNBA players who are playing during their menstrual cycle. There's a lot that goes into the female body that make it harder for them to compete at the level that they do, but they still do it. And you got to respect that. It like the WNBA, to be honest, I watch women's basketball more than I watch men's basketball these days. I don't watch the males play. I don't. It doesn't interest me unless like the Yukon Huskies for the men are winning. I'm not watching. I mean, I'm a Philadelphia 76ers fan. I haven't been watching any Philly games. To be honest, I've been watching women's college basketball. When Unrivaled starts up in January, I'm going to be watching that. And when the WNBA starts back up, I'm going to be watching that. I just feel that women, they play the game the way it needs to be played. They are not flashy. They're not looking for the tricks. They're just playing ball. Yeah, a lot of them that got good handle. A lot of them can shoot pretty well. They're competitive. I just like the women's game. And I think that Sophie Cunningham should have defended women's basketball players more than she did on that podcast. Don't be like, yeah, if the middle school boys are pro ready, then yeah, they should be able to beat a WNBA player. Instead of saying that, you should just say, this topic is unnecessary. Let the men have their place and let the women have their place. Simple as that. It doesn't need to go any further than that. But it is what it is. All right, let's say. I have to disrespectfully agree, but the diet of a full man is more complex than a woman. I feel like you're taking into consideration the Naomi complex. You really need to focus on both sides of the argument here. So what I'm saying is, Elijah man, is that the argument's not necessary. Okay, you do have female athletes that can beat male athletes in the same sport, depending on what their level is. No, I'm not focusing on one side. I'm saying that the question or the comment is not necessary. Someone made a good comment on Threads. They said, "You notice how none of the high level NBA players they never talk down on or comment negatively on women's basketball. You don't see it's cool. It's cool, Elijah man. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, it's no disrespect. We're just having a conversation here. So you ever notice that none of the big time NBA players talk down on or kind of push away the women's basketball players? Kobe never talked down on women's basketball. LeBron doesn't. Michael Jordan doesn't. You don't see Steph Curry doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not. Oh, so you're saying, oh, is this some? No, so Elijah Man. So I'm commenting on. So Michael Porter Jr., who's from the Denver Nuggets, he was saying on the Ball in the Family podcast, I think with Lonzo Ball, LaMelo Ball, I don't know, some of the Ball brothers on that podcast. He was saying that when he was in middle school, he could beat WNBA players, right? My thing is, I don't think that comment was necessary. And so Sophie Cunningham of the Indiana Fever, she was asked about Michael Porter Jr.'s comments on another podcast, and she pretty much said, "Yeah, he has a point." And my thing is, the conversation is not necessary. We know that NBA players and WNBA players are built different. We know that they have a different, they just play differently. And I think that there shouldn't be a conversation of whether or not this male player can beat this female player. It's not necessary. We just need to respect both games. That's it. Would you say that women like men are still considered elite athletes despite female profession? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Women are still elite athletes. They still are. Yeah, they are. You take a women's professional athlete and you put them against any guy, any guy, even a guy that's like fit. They're still going to outwork that guy in a lot of cases. They're still elite athletes. We're just speaking like grown men here. Okay. Yeah, nah, these women are still elite athletes. They are still elite athletes. I'm never gonna downplay a woman's professional woman who's an athlete. No, 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 no. Especially like soccer players. Like the women's soccer players, like the U.S. women's soccer team is actually more popular than the men's U.S. soccer team. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's totally fine. Yeah, I listen. My thing is, I like sports. It doesn't matter, male, female, what have you. If you can play, you can play. I'm interested in many sports. I'm interested in women's volleyball. I'm interested in women's tennis. I'm interested in women's basketball. Those are like my top sports. Do you watch? Yeah, I mean, listen, women's rugby. Women's rugby is nice too. I don't watch rugby in general, but when it comes around the Olympics, I'll watch it. You know what I'm saying? Or if it comes around in like some world champion something, and I happen to see it, I'll watch it. My thing is like, if you can compete, you can compete. That's just how I feel. If you can compete, you can compete. So speaking of, I guess, and with Sophie Cunningham making these comments, a lot of people are annoyed with Sophie anyway, especially on my side of threads because they feel that she's been making a lot of okay about rugby. You want to educate me about rugby? Yeah, you could put your comments in. I'm about to pivot to another topic within this episode right here, but I feel like Sophie Cunningham, she's been on like a run lately and she's been making a lot of comments that get on people's nerves. And I think that a lot of it's due to the fact that she wants to just be in the spotlight and she kind of wants to have this kind of celebrity appeal. I think she kind of wants to be a celebrity in some respects or some regards, but I just don't think she's going about it the right way. I think there's a better way. If she really wants to be a celebrity, I think there's a better way to do it. I don't think she needs to downplay people in her league or downplay any players within the WNBA in order to reach that celebrity. So, speaking of celebrity, I wanted to talk about this incident that occurred with this guy named Burna Boy. So, Burna Boy, I would classify him as more of like an Afrobeats artist, Nigerian singer slash rapper slash artist, however you want to put it. So he got in trouble recently, or there's been some backlash with him because there was a concert that occurred. I believe it was in Denver, Colorado. So the concert was in Denver. Oh, Sophie Cunningham. So Sophie Cunningham is a WNBA player who plays for the Indiana Fever. Okay. So last year was her first season with the Indiana Fever. Prior to that, she was with the Phoenix Mercury. You can look into her history. So Burna Boy, Afro. Side note your hair. Okay. Thanks, Elijah, man. Appreciate you. Product? Oh, you know of Burna Boy? Well, product. My wife would be able to tell you that. She says put this face cream on and make sure your face looks okay, and I'm just like okay. So maybe I need to do a better job of knowing when I'm putting it on my face. But yeah, Burna Boy. So there's been some backlash because he was having a concert in Denver, Colorado, and there was a woman that was sleeping in the concert, and he could spot her, and so he got upset with her. Thank you very much, Elijah, man. Appreciate you. So he got upset with this woman and he basically said, "I'm not performing any other songs." Yeah, thanks. Yeah, my wife is definitely a great wife. Yes, I appreciate her. Definitely. Thank you. But so Burna Boy got upset with this person because they were sleeping during his concert and he saw them and he said, "I'm not going to perform any other songs until this person goes away from my concert, like kick her out." So people were cheering, people were booing, and that woman who was sleeping was escorted out of the concert. And so, now you're fine, Elijah, man. That's fine. That's fine. I want people to comment. I really want to engage in dialogue. That's the purpose of having this live show, to engage in dialogue. It's not just for me to talk. So me talking now will be for my regular podcast, which I gotta do again. I'm gonna try and do the podcast this week. We've been on like a month or so hiatus, maybe a month and a half, 2 months hiatus. But I'm gonna get back to that. But that's where I could just talk and freestyle. But here it's meant for me to talk to audience members and build community. So you don't have to apologize. So, anyways, Burna Boy kicked that person out of the concert, and the person revealed that they were tired because Burna Boy was late coming out to the show, and they were grieving the death of their child's father, because their child's father had recently passed away. This person claimed, that's what reports are saying, and they felt embarrassed that Burna Boy kicked them out of the concert. So Burna Boy was caught on a live saying that he only wants rich fans, and then he went on his Instagram stories and issued a statement saying that people are after him and they're out to get him, and he doesn't feel like he's wrong in this circumstance. And it's just a mess. But I believe that Burna Boy, after having a series of successful albums, has let the fame get to his head. And I'm really upset. Like even my wedding, my wife and I came out dancing to a Burna Boy song. I definitely like some of Burna Boy's projects. Okay. All right, cool. Sounds good. But I definitely listen to Burna Boy's projects. African Giant is my favorite album of his. Twice as Tall is a good album. Love of Dominique is also a good album. Like he makes good songs. However, I have a hard time separating the art from the artist. And if you're being a nasty person like this, it's hard for me to support your art, if at all. I think there's levels to it, right? But I haven't listened to Burna Boy ever since that incident. I don't I think that was very nasty. Even if the person was sleeping and they didn't say that they had something going on, they paid money to go to your concert. Quest lavish luxuriously. What's that? That's the name of a song. I can check that out. Well, I can. Let me take a screenshot. All right. I took a screenshot and I'll check out Quest Lavish Luxuriously. I'll check that out. Thanks for the suggestion, Elijah, man. So I just am very disappointed in Burna Boy. That person paid money to come to your show. If they're asleep, they're asleep. It's not like they're disturbing your show. You could just ignore them. Is that deeply insulting to you? Does that fuel an insecurity in you? Like it's not necessary. You shouldn't be doing that. Speaking of even concerts in general, I don't know if y'all saw the singer Mario. He was at a concert and this woman sexually assaulted him. This woman grabbed his private area while he was singing on stage. He stopped for a bit and said, like, yo, don't do that. And the crazy thing is, the woman had her wedding ring on. She had her wedding ring on, grabbing this guy's private area. That is, first off, that's sexual assault. Not cool. And secondly, you're married and doing stuff like that. Oh my goodness. Listen, I wish that woman's husband well if that man still wants to be married to her, because that's ridiculous. I don't know what the terms of their relationship is, but mm-mm. Listen, My wife shouldn't be doing that. I'm not gonna be doing anything like that to any woman or anybody. Like, so that whole situation was crazy. I was not feeling that at all. But it is what it is. Fans are going to act crazy out here. Fans are going to do what they do. Um, that's why it's good to have security, and that's why it's also good to set boundaries, especially when you're performing. One last thing I'll talk about, because I try to keep these shows not going too long. I try to keep it within like 30 to 40 minutes, and this next topic is probably going to be like 5 minutes. Juelz Santana. Juelz Santana, he's a hip hop artist, and he was part of this group called Dipset with Cameron and and Jim Jones. So they were very popular back in the day, a group out of New York. And so he was on this podcast called the No Funny Ish. And so pretty much he was saying that kids today, they need to learn financial literacy and they need to learn how to do math, and they don't need to be focusing on reading. He said that you don't need to focus on reading. You need to learn how to start a business. Like, we need to teach these kids how to start businesses instead of focusing on reading, and they need to know financial literacy. Man, do you know that reading is essential to both starting a business and having financial literacy? You have to read in order to understand things. You have to read in order to understand a prompt. You need to read your contract. You, like, people just get on these podcast mics and say anything nowadays. And the thing is, with celebrities, because they have a platform, a lot of people just hang on their every word. And I'm glad that people are starting to wake up and see that these celebrities are just random people who either got very fortunate in life or perfected a craft, and that's what propelled them to the heights that they're at. And we shouldn't take their word as gospel. Oh my goodness. Him saying that, I gotta actually read the quotes specifically. So he said, this is what Juelz Santana said. By the time kids get to the ninth grade, they should be learning how to start a business. So I understand, like, there is a place where we need to teach people to have their own or potentially be an entrepreneur. Now, not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. And that's the thing I think that people don't understand. Like, people who are entrepreneurs trying to encourage everybody else to be an entrepreneur, but the entrepreneur life is not meant for everyone. If you can do it, if you want to do it, sure, you can introduce that to kids. But then Joel Santana went on to say that you could listen to a book on YouTube, you can still obtain the information. You don't have to know how to read. I believe common sense is better than everything. Like, you need to know how to read. Reading is essential. Reading is important. You need to be able to decode messages. You need to be able to understand just like the context of a situation. Just reading is essential, and we're getting away from the plot. Hey, how you doing, Elijah? Man, you back? All right, cool, cool. I was asking you before. Was Quest lavish luxuriously? Was that a name of a song? I took a screenshot of it while you were gone, so I just wanted to know, was that the name of a song? But I'm talking about Joel Santana saying that kids don't need to know how to read; they just need to know how to start a business, and I'm definitely not a fan of that mentality. But okay, all right, Elijah, man. Yeah, I'll listen to that song. I took a screenshot of it, so I'll listen to it, and maybe I'll make a video on it. Maybe I'll comment on it on the next live. But thank you for that suggestion. But yeah, so I just think that a lot of people with platforms, unfortunately, they ego trip and they end up just saying anything, and people hang on their every words, and they start being influenced by them. I say the same thing with hip hop music. I know when I was younger, listening to like 50 Cent, the gangster music and all that stuff, I wanted to wear a large white tee. So it is influential. You need reading to understand legal. Exactly, exactly, exactly. You're right, Messiah 38. Okay, Elijah Man. Okay, thoughts on higher education as opposed to allowing kids to just flourish in business. So I think that different things work for different people. Like, I got my higher education, right? If I were to do it all over again, I would have probably went a different route, learned a trade, got some certificates. Maybe, yeah, still did undergrad, but I don't think it was necessary for me to get, you know, the advanced degrees. I think that you can simultaneously get higher education and start your own business, grow your own business. But I really think that the most important thing for people to do is learn a trade, learn how to work with your hands, welding, plumbing, electrical work, even hair braiders. Women that work in the hair industry, hair and makeup industry, a lot of them are making just as much, if not more money than people who went to college or went to grad school. So I believe that learning a trade is very important. So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, so that's pretty much my show for today. I had another topic, but I'm gonna save that for some other work that I do later on. It's involving the president, so I'll leave that there because I feel like that could open up a whole new can of worms. Anyways, I end this show by talking about what's brewing for the week. This show is called Sunday Brew, even though we're doing it on a Tuesday. Like I said before, I couldn't do it on this past Sunday. But we end the show talking about what's brewing for the week. Let's see. I'm in the UK, by the way, just so you know, and I don't think less of me. However, here are kids push. Yeah, yeah. A lot of times, school, like you spend so much money to go to school, and then you get out and you get a job in order to try to make the money back or pay off loans over here. I don't know. Do they do loans in the UK, Elijah man? Do they do student loans over there? I know we have a system over here with student loans, and a lot of people feel scammed by that system. But I'm about to end this show, and so we always end by talking about what's brewing for the week. So with me, what's brewing for this week is I'll be creating content surrounding. I'm gonna make some reels and put it to TikTok and put it to this page right here on YouTube, talking about the Burna Boy incident. Just thinking about it further, I actually want to talk about the Nicki Minaj incident too, where she spoke at the UN about Christians being harmed in Nigeria. So I want to get into that as well. I wanted to do a long form video. All right. This is why I think it's best to use that money to find other ways to set up kids for success rather than wasting on courses that won't help them. Yeah, I think that even if people are going to school, okay, they do loans in the UK. All right. Yeah. I'm trying to be more worldly. Like I've traveled, you see this mask back here, this from Ghana, this paintings from Ghana. I got other masks from other areas of the world, but I haven't been to the UK yet. No, I'm not. I'm Black American. So maybe Nigerians in my ancestry somewhere, but I am Black American. But yeah. So I'm gonna be working on that piece with Nicki Minaj and the Christians being harmed in Nigerian. Do I eat fufu? Yeah, I have eaten fufu. Yeah, my wife is my wife is African, so she has introduced me to that. But yeah, so I'll be talking about Nicki Minaj, making the Burna Boy video. I'll probably make a video talking about the Mario incident, and then make some videos talking about some WNBA stuff. How did you get to work with? No, no, no. I didn't work with Nicki Minaj. No, I'm doing work in order to speak on the Nicki Minaj. No, no, no. I'm not working with Nicki Minaj. Uh, no, I'm not working with Nicki Minaj. I am making a video speaking on the Nicki Minaj incident where she went to the UN and talked about Christians being harmed in Nigeria. That's what I'm going to be talking about. Okay. So that's that. But, anyways, so yeah, that my week is pretty much full. I'm going to try and do a podcast episode. Make sure to look out for the AVIOT podcast on a streaming service near you. And with that being said, thank you all for those who commented. Elijah Man, appreciate you. Thank you all for those who joined. And hopefully, I will see you this coming Sunday and we'll have another episode. All right. Later.